Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about a display that does the opposite of what normal displays do, and it thrives in sunlight. So if you've ever had like a MacBook or something outside and you're trying to do some work, there's so much glare, it looks really dim and you're like fighting against the sun shining on your shoulder. You have to find shade to be able to use your computer. This display actually does the opposite. The more sun, the better. Stick around to the end of this video. We're going to talk about the use cases I think it's best for, and it might just be something in your career or your line of work or line of leisure that you might actually find valuable. And we'll talk about who I think it's really for. And if you're already intrigued, you can check the link in the description to learn more and pick yours up today. Before we dive in on this channel, we talk about tech from an intentional living and minimalist perspective. So if that sounds cool to you, please consider subscribing and like this video for more. So what is it? The Sun Vision display is a 32-inch reflective LCD monitor built for sunlight readability without any backlight or front light or glare. It's lightweight, portable, and unlike anything most of us are used to. Just some specs at a glance: 1080p resolution, which we'll get into in a bit, reflective LCD technology, minimalist design with 2 HDMI ports, USB, headphone jack, and power input. So it actually has 16.7 million addressable colors, which is interesting. So I think some of the biggest key features of this display is that it uses this reflective LCD technology, which means it reflects light to create images instead of using a backlight to sort of project images into our eyes with light, if that makes sense. So it eliminates flicker and reduces eye strain because you're not looking at a light, you're looking at basically like a wall that is reflecting sunlight to create colors. It's very interesting. So what's wild is the more sunlight you have, actually the easier it is to use and the brighter the screen is. It outperforms probably any, LCD, OLED, whatever screen that's with a backlight outside, because it's not the same type of technology. So it's not fighting the sun, it's actually using the sun to create its brightness. So because there's no backlight, it actually uses like 95% less power than something like a regular monitor does. So especially if you're outside, if you're on the go, you can use solar powered panels to power this thing. You can use generators to power this thing, and you don't need a ton of power for it. So one thing I was actually worried about was like, okay, it's good that it works well outside, but like, can it handle a ton of heat, or can it handle like the cold, right? Like this is what we consider to be a desktop monitor, but it's gonna be outside in the heat of the day. And it can actually operate in temperatures ranging from -20 degrees Celsius to plus 70 degrees Celsius. So it could be 158 degrees outside. That's wild. For those of you who already use Celsius, you beat me to the punch on that, but that's pretty crazy actually. So in terms of just like the design of the display, it's sleek, it's minimal, there's not a ton of branding, it's lightweight. And because there's only the display, there's no backlight, there's no touch input, the actual like thinness of the display itself is really thin. Now near the bottom there's speakers and stuff which sort of kind of bumps out, as you'll see, but other than that, it's lightweight and it's thin, which is kind of fantastic. I really like the stand, but it also can be set up with a Visa mount, something like that. The display works really well outside. The problem is, and you've probably guessed this already, inside, it doesn't really work. It does work, but you need to have basically strong lights pointed at the screen for it to work. So like you'll see, like we took some B-roll of it here on the desk and we actually had like 2 or 3 lights pointed directly at it just to get it bright enough. But taking it outside, it was fantastic. But if you're in like a dark room with no windows like we are in this studio here, it's not gonna work well. And I'll say like, with a 1080p display, it's not gonna blow you away with how like clean it is. I think outside it looks really nice, but like sitting up close to it, I mean, it's 1080p, which we've all kind of graduated. If you're used to a 1080p display, then it won't be any different. Or, I think even if you're at like a 1440 display or a 4K display or a 5K display, 6K, whatever, you're really gonna notice that 1080p display. All right, so let's talk some pros and cons here. Just a quick list. So the pros list: exceptional sunlight readability, energy efficient and lightweight, unique and practical for special use cases. Cons: 1080p resolution is probably limiting for most of you. It's not ideal for indoor use unless your back is against like a huge window. And also, I mean, if the weather changes, then you're gonna have a clearer or brighter display depending on what the weather is like outside. All right, so some use case examples I could see this actually working really well for. So picture this, you're on a construction site, maybe you work construction or you're an architect and you're trying to look at some charts or something on your phone, you're squinting, someone brings out their laptop, you're having to do the same thing, you gotta go find some cover, or you have this display, plug it in, it starts up immediately, uses very little power, connected to a generator or something, and you're actually able to see things better if it's brighter outside. So I think anyone who works in that sort of outside field, even if you're like maybe a park ranger or something like that, where like you just need to be outside, or even like if you work at a pool in the summer and like the lifeguard stand is, you know, in the sun and you need to be able to check people in on like your program or whatever it might be, you can start to imagine use cases where this would actually be really great outside. Or for life of leisure, if you are, you know, someone who camps around and you want to have a TV playing outside while you're eating your lunch at your campsite, this would work fantastic for you. Again, low energy consumption. Or I'm even thinking like at a tailgate for a football game, the sun's blaring down. You can either have your like thousands of dollar like tailgating TV set up on the back of your, you know, truck with like a huge awning over top of you providing shade so you can see the games that are playing, or you can have this sitting on a table right in the sun and you're able to see very clearly what's happening and catch all the action there. So yeah, as we wrap up here, I actually got to chat with the company quite a bit and have gone back and forth in emails and was able to Zoom with them, and I think what they're more interested in is providing just more awareness of this technology to the industry. If you saw like the Daylight tablet that came out, it's the same technology. They were calling it like an e-ink with a super high refresh rate, but it's actually just this like RLCD panel, reflective LCD panel that works like a regular LCD panel, but doesn't have that like backlight basically. So like there's an interest and an intrigue in this type of product. I think we're just excited to bring this monitor to you. Yes, you can buy one if you'd like, but the company has a background of just large outdoor displays, but it's not for everyone. It's not for every home office and stuff like that. But again, for outdoor working professionals, mobile setups, or any sort of sunny environment, this thing's pretty cool. I'm actually interested to hear your thoughts in the comments. Like, what other professions do you think could use this type of technology, whether it's this monitor itself or just the display technology in general, this RLCD technology. And again, if you're curious to pick one up yourself or just to learn more, links in the description down below. Special thanks to Sun Vision Display for sending this product out and for chatting with me about this technology. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video for more, watch this video next. I think you're gonna love it, and we'll see you in the next one.